India's national capital region reeled under a thick smog cover for over a week. The pollution level was so severe that it led all schools to shut down. Initially, stubble burning was said to be the main reason behind the Delhi smog, but now a report from India's Ministry of Earth Sciences has found that a dust storm in the Gulf played the biggest role in the crisis. But what's worrying now is a warning from a top weather agency that Delhi smog respite may be temporary.
For more than a week, India's capital struggled to breathe. As thick smog covered Delhi, the air quality index indicated a severe level of pollution. Delhi and its neighbouring states sparred over farmers burning leftover stubble, the fumes from which was said to be the lead cause of the smog. But now a government-run monitoring agency has identified a West Asian dust storm as the chief trigger behind the recent smog episode. It says the dust storm in Iraq, Kuwait and Saudi Arabia was the main cause of the Delhi smog between the 8th and the 16th of November, and that the Gulf dust storm contributed 40% to Delhi smog on the 8th of November itself. The same day, stubble burning was responsible for 25% of the pollution. The agency says local sources also played a role in Delhi smog. Though the smog cover has lifted for now, there's a warning from another top global weather agency. The US Atmospheric Organization has issued a warning for North Indian and Pakistani cities. It says cities could turn into unhealthy snow globes. The agency foresees opportunities for cold, stagnant air to fill with pollution. The challenge, therefore, is huge because it's not just factors like combustion of fuels and burning crops and garbage that lead to smog, and that can be addressed to some extent. The warning is about specific atmospheric conditions that allow the air to remain still enough for pollution to accumulate. Bureau Report, WION.
Joining us on the show tonight are Jyoti Pandey Lavakare, co-founder Care for India. We are also joined by environmentalist Vandana Shiva and Sean Bonner. He's the director safecast.org. He's joining us from Tokyo. We'll first go to Jyoti Lavakare. Jyoti, it seems that initially it was being felt that this entire smog situation in Delhi was majorly to be blamed on the stubble burning in Punjab and Haryana. Now we are given to understand that, the Gulf and the winds blowing from the Gulf towards India could also have had a major role to play in this. Clearly, it's not as clear as it sounded. There seems to be a multiplicity of reasons that have caused the situation in the national capital.
And what's the question?
Well, I was saying that clearly there seems to be a multiplicity of reasons which appear to have caused this smog situation in the national capital. Earlier it was being solely blamed on the stubble burning and the pollution, but now we are hearing that the winds blowing from the Gulf towards India and the storm, that could also have had an effect. So clearly the diagnosis of this problem to begin with was not accurate.
Yes, and I think that one should focus on fixing the problem for 40% in Delhi was caused by us, but it's up for forecasting, and I think if they more and
we seem to be having an audio issue while connecting to Jyoti. Let me take the same question to environmentalist Vandana Shiva. Ms. Shiva, as I was saying, initially we thought that this smog was being caused only by the stubble burning in Punjab and Haryana. Now it appears that the reasons could be far more deeper, and there could be many more reasons which have led to this situation. Your thoughts on this, please?
Well, the first thing is we know fossil fuels are a major problem, both for local air pollution as well as emissions that go into the higher atmosphere and are the driving cause for climate change, whether they exist as carbon dioxide or as nitrous oxides emitting from chemical fertilizers based on fossil fuels, or methane based on increasing waste as we industrialize based on fossil fuels. There's dust in the air, but it's coming from local construction. The IIT Kanpur report has identified that as a second major source. Industrial pollution is a major source. I work on agriculture. I do know that one state in India has started to burn straw as stubble because it lost the straw. The state of Punjab is the land where the Green Revolution was introduced in the 60s. The Green Revolution was a method of introducing chemical fertilizers, and because our tall varieties lodge with chemical application, the dwarf varieties were created in order to apply more chemicals. Those same chemicals required more water, which led to desertification. They require far more fertilizer, which leads to emissions. But most importantly, they are combined. Chemicals and mechanization go hand in hand. The combined harvesters, which are just taking the grain off the top, leaving a stubble, is not a traditional practice of India, because straw is a very precious agricultural resource. Our animals eat it. We use it for organic farming. We have to give back the straw because it's the part of the crop that we give to the earth for tomorrows and day afters and food down the centuries. Our ancient Veda says, in this handful of soil lies your future. Destroy it, it will destroy you. Take care of it, it will take care of you. I'm very troubled reading this morning that the National Thermal Power Corporation is going to mix coal with straw to continue the fossil fuel emissions that are leading to climate change and depriving the soil and our animals and agriculture of a very, very vital resource. I'm also very troubled by reading that while government is refusing to pay farmers a just price, 11 pies for potato when we pay 20 rupees, MSP is a cry everywhere, the minimum support price, a just price. Farmers of this country are dying. They're committing suicide because they're not earning enough. Now you're willing to pay the farmer to make a raw material for the thermal power plants, but you're not willing to pay the farmer a just price to ensure the food security of the country. Finally, the issue of a dust storm from the Arab world. You know, dust is very, very different from the toxic fumes that have been the typical fog, smog, toxic gas chamber that Delhi has become. Eyes don't burn when dust comes. You just close your eyes. They're heavy particles. I think we are messing up so badly with science. We are messing up so badly with the ecology as a science. We are messing up with the planet.
Right.
And I think these knee-jerk reactions of individual excuses is not good enough, knowing that climate change has become so disastrous that it is leading to tipping point, and scientists are saying we have just 100 years more to have a livable planet with the temperature that allows human life to thrive and a predictable weather condition. Look at the storms, look at the floods in North India. 50 million people displaced.
Right.
Look at the Puerto Rico hurricane. Look at Houston before that. Look at the fires of California. We are not living in normal climate times. And we cannot continue to have one analysis one day, another analysis one day, also because the leader of the most powerful country has said, I don't care, I deny climate change.
Absolutely.
We can't live in denial anymore. We must live in responsibility within the ecological limits of the planet, no matter which way we break the planetary limits, whether it be through carbon dioxide emissions, whether it be through species extinction, or it be for nitrous oxide emissions. All of these are violating the planetary limits. They are not available to be violated without serious consequences for our lives. And we might be closing our future by fooling ourselves.
Ms. Shiva, your points are very well taken. I would request you to stay on with us on the show. WION spoke to environmentalist Sunita Narayan on the issue. Let's listen in to what she had to say.
We are with Ms. Sunita Narayan, who is associated with Center for Science and Environment since 1982. And for more updates about the problem of smog in Delhi, we speak with her. So, ma'am, the recent reports, it says that smog may stay for longer in Delhi. So what do you think about it?
I don't know what report you're talking about, but it is very clear that smog episode was really bad, what happened last week. And it was really bad because of a combination of factors. There was a combined factor of the winds coming in from West Asia. It carried also the crop residue from Punjab and Haryana. And it also collided with another wind system coming from the east, which brought moisture. But regardless of that, you have to understand that the conditions in Delhi itself were very bad. So therefore, it's a combination, and there's no reason to point fingers at either West Asia or Punjab. It's everybody's problem. And what we really need to do now is to see how do we make sure that the pollution levels can come down, not during emergency only. That we can do. But what can we do post-emergency? When pollution already is very high, how can we reduce that?
Exactly, that is the point, ma'am, that it has always been the situation in Delhi that the air quality index is always in severe level most of the times. And we start taking actions, these are the reactionary measures. So what can be exactly done, or the long-term plans for Delhi which can save it from air pollution, according to you?
These are not reactionary measures. These are part of what is called a smog alert system. It's done all over the world as part of your program for air pollution control. So there are two parts to it. One is you act when things are very bad, and the other is you have long-term measures. The problem we have is that the long-term measures which our governments have to take, they are not taking. So I don't think I'm the right person to ask about that. You should ask our Honorable Chief Minister, our Honorable Ministers, what are they doing? Delhi remains in the very poor category in the best of days through winter. And therefore, our effort has to be to reduce pollution. Emergency measures have been effective, and that was good we took them, because otherwise we would have had even 20 times higher pollution. But we need to have long-term steps that are taken.
Let me bring in Sean Bonner. He's the director of safecast.org. He's joining us from Tokyo. Sean, you've heard Vandana Shiva and Sunita Narayan talking about the smog situation in Delhi. There has been a lot of talk about how there is always a knee-jerk kind of a reaction whenever India's national capital suffers something like this, and everything seems to be forgotten as soon as it clears up. What's your take? Where is the problem? Is the problem not being diagnosed rightly in the first place?
So I think part of the problem is that there's lots of potential causes for this, and lots of finger pointing, from people trying to deflect the blame and point the problem off on somebody else. And because there's not enough instrumentation around to get accurate data, this is a problem that's going to continue to happen. And you won't be able to deduce exactly where the cause is for any specific situation, which will result in constant repetitive finger pointing over and over and over again without any actual solutions. NASA recently announced that even in what they consider heavily instrumented areas, they're still having to assume that everybody within a 50-kilometer radius is having the exact same exposure to PM. And that's obviously not an accurate measurement. We need much more instrumentation and much more commitment from industry and local governments and things to place these sensors at a much higher frequency in neighborhoods and towns to understand where these pollution is coming from at any given moment. And once there's actual data to understand where the pollution is coming from, then next steps can be taken to solve it. But as long as it's just people sort of saying, here's lots of different causes, this time it's that person's fault, or next time it's somebody else's fault, that's a cycle that will just continue to repeat itself over and over again until there's data to confirm something. There's not an actionable piece that can be taken.
Your point is very well taken, Sean. I would request you to stay on with us. Meanwhile, the National Green Tribunal has allowed resumption of construction and industrial activities in the Indian capital region and asked for preventive measures to be taken to tackle air pollution in the city. The Green Panel has directed that all orders pertaining to industries and burning of crops in the region be continued. The tribunal has also said that sprinkling of water will continue where pollution levels are high. The Green Panel has also demanded implementation of the same rules in neighbouring states, Punjab, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. All these states have been asked to file a status report in 2 weeks. The emergency measures were taken as part of an action plan implemented on November 8th after air quality deteriorated and thick smog enveloped the region. The situation is so bad that a worried diplomatic corps in the capital has asked the government to intervene.
It is something that is not in the control of the MEA. We will meet today and discuss some of the things done by other countries who have had similar situations. And of course, the precautions are the same for everyone. I mean, try to buy some air filters, try to refrain from being outside and try to wear masks when going outside. But as I said before, the MEA is not the one that can control this issue. It's other government entities.
Today, National Green Tribunal has lifted the ban from the construction sites in New Delhi, and we are at one of the construction sites in New Delhi at INA. As you can see here, the housing society is being built, and also there is a construction of road is underway. And on the other side of me, you can see that there is a construction of metro line is also going on. So overall in Delhi, there are many construction sites like these, and where a lot of construction work is going on. And NGT has found that this could be one of the reasons for the kind of particulate matters that we have in Delhi's environment. That's why they had asked to stop all these construction. Now NGT says that pollution levels are coming down, and in few days situation will be better when weather changes. And visibility has got better in few days. This is the reason that NGT has allowed all the construction work in Delhi to start again. With video journalist B.D. Dayani, Nagin Singh, WION.
I believe we have got our audio line back with Jyoti Pandey Lavakare. Let's bring her back into the conversation. Ms. Lavakare, as I was trying to ask you earlier, clearly there seems to be multiple reasons that have caused this smog. But now the National Green Tribunal has also lifted the ban on construction activity in Delhi. Now, we were talking about how the reactions to such problems are always knee-jerk. What do you make of such bans being put in place whenever we have a problem like this? And once it improves, we suddenly see the lifting of such bans. The odd even scheme is being talked about extensively in the courts. What do you make of these so-called knee-jerk reactions?
I think in a problem of such immense national importance, there should be no ad hocism and knee-jerk reaction and anything reactive. We have been asking again and again for an empowered and accountable authority that will cut through all the bureaucratic red tape. Pollution is a very complex problem with different factors coming in from crop burning, and as you have seen recently, winds from other countries, burning of biomass, vehicular emission. All these problems involve different authorities. There's a multiplicity of authorities between Delhi and the center, amongst the various states. We need a single point authority that is empowered to take decisions to actually tackle this problem. There is a lack of intent to tackle this problem. There is no dearth of funds. We still have a Prime Minister who has remained silent on this issue right through the peak of pollution. Our Environment Minister has said this is not even an emergency, even at the peak when the dust storm and all the other factors were bringing in so much PM 2.5 and PM 10. We have the Environment Pollution Control Authority, a court-mandated body, the head of which has also said there was no cause for alarm. This is when citizens in Delhi are suffering so much. So I think that, again, I would say we need concerted effort to sort this problem out. This is not going to go away. It's been there every year. Even the base load of Delhi, let's say you take away all the weather factors, take away the dust from the Gulf, even then the base load that Delhi suffers from on an annualized basis is still very, very high. We are breathing poison. There are children, there are reports. In fact, the Central Pollution Control Board itself had commissioned a study which showed that there is irreversible lung damage in Delhi children. Almost 44% or 50% of Delhi children have suffer from irreversible lung damage.
Right.
So I think this problem needs to be taken up at the highest level. Our children have appealed to the Prime Minister. Our Chief Minister seems to be completely without any powers, if we believe him, because he has the funds, he has everything, but he can't do anything. Therefore, we need the centre to step in when the states are squabbling amongst themselves. We need the centre to step in and say, okay, this is a problem of national importance.
Right.
As I keep saying,
right. Your point is well taken, Jyoti. Let me bring in Vandana Shiva back into the conversation one more time. Vandana, Jyoti Pandey Lavakare talked about the need for a single point authority. Also, what do you think is the probable way forward to deal with a situation like this? Also, I mean, the fact that there is a multiplicity of authorities, there are so many agencies involved. Are we missing the woods for the trees?
Well, the first thing is that you can have a singular authority and a fragmented polity. The air knows no boundaries. And because the air knows no boundaries, we do need a deeper system of coherence. Coherence between the states and the capital, but coherence between the national discussion and the international negotiations at COP23. After all, it's the same polluted air from the ground level that goes up as emissions into the atmosphere. Even the language is different. We call it air pollution here and emissions there. Because we are splitting every bit of our imagination, we are not finding the right solution. We are not connecting the death of the Yamuna, the death of our air, the killing of our lungs, the sickness among our children. I think it is time to now realize that what we are talking about is the health of the planet holistically and the health of people in an interconnected way. This is a health problem as much as it's a pollution problem. And I do hope the government will wake up with the pollution people have gone through this year.
Right.
To say ease of doing business cannot be the singular yardstick of the health of a nation. We need to take into account the quality of the air we breathe, the quality of the food we eat, the quality of our rivers. That decides the fate of a nation, not how much profits 1% made.
Right, your points are very well taken, Ms. Shiva. And with that, we wrap up this discussion, thanking Jyoti Pandey Lavakare, Vandana Shiva and Sean Bonner for joining us on this conversation about a very important issue concerning India's national capital.